I got a quick update for the update. Just buttoned up the power steering. Got the hose hooked up, if I can get that to focus. The hose I showed in yesterday's video, that was a great fit. And I did end up cutting a whole bunch of it out. Only used what I needed, I guess, what I'm trying to spit out. I ended up going back on with hose clamps instead of the factory spring clamps, because I don't want this thing to leak and I don't want to have to ever go back in there. The bracket seems to have worked out fine. I was able to get the return hose coming from the rack down below hooked up without having to splice in another piece of hose. I did have to, see if I can show this. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but there's a metal pipe coming up from the bottom. I had to reach down there and send that guy over this way, pointing towards the reservoir. And that seemed to work. Pretty happy with that. Even though the suction hose from the pump just barely touched the bracket, I don't think it would have hurt anything. I cut another piece of hose and slipped that in there. Fatal design flaw, as I learned when I was putting this together. I can't get these alternator bolt out, so if the alternator dies, worst case scenario, I got to drain the reservoir, take it all apart just to do the alternator. What I may end up doing, if I do need to do work on the alternator, is see if I can find a metric stud and a nut. And if I got to do some alternator work, I'll back this out, cut the head off, lift the bracket up a little bit, pull the remaining piece of bolt out, and then go back together with a stud and a nut, and I think it'll be just fine. But ready to pour some oil back in it and put the intake back together, and then it's on to pinning the crank.